On this episode, we are finally getting the windows installed in our earth-sheltered home. So this is the window schedule, or at least how it appeared when I very first set it up. We made a few changes in a few of the rooms, but you can see how it works here, where some of the windows have like this W4 on this window, W6, W18, and those list in here, and it gives the dimensions. And of course, you're supposed to frame the windows a little bit, 3/4 of an inch taller and wider so you can fit them in without any troubles. I went and tucked them in real tight. I made them 1/4 inch wider in some cases. In some cases, I went, I'm gonna squeeze this in. I'm gonna just trim it a little bit, and it'll be perfect. But anyway, you'll see there's a reason that they tell you to do that extra 1.5 inches. But anyway, different ones like this arch-top window. This one here was the most expensive. This W18. This was like $1,000. And then most of the other windows are, a few $100 each, depending on if they open or not, and so on. So you get an idea of how many windows there are. And then somewhere else in the plans, there'll be on this page here, where you can see all the numbers show up right on the plan. So I can see now that W3 goes here, W4, W11, and so on. So we're going to start out putting in these windows at the back, these W8s, and then we're going to work on these W16s, and so on all around the house. After weeks of waiting, the windows finally arrived, and we started moving them to the rooms where they were needed so we could organize and make sure we had everything. My parents and my friend Aaron were on site to help out. We started on the north guest room windows because I thought that was the best place to practice. Aaron had installed windows before, but I was totally new and my only experience was watching other YouTube videos. Neither of us had ever installed windows in a concrete and stucco house, but I think we'll figure out what we're doing by the end. To waterproof, we started with those fancy corner pieces and then covered over that with basic window flashing tape. And then we just slid the windows in. After we leveled and squared them, we screwed them into the window bucks with galvanized lap screws right through the little nail fins. Easy first set. On to the next windows. Over here in the playroom apps, the first one was easy. The next one measured well enough, but when we tried to actually slide the window in, there was a spot that was a bit too tight and I had to remove the tape, sand it down that buck, and try again. So from now on, we'll dry fit first. These basement windows did not go in easily. The bucks had racked and some even bowed in or twisted a little under the load of the shotcrete around them. And with me starting such tight tolerances, I then needed to trim them back before I could even get the windows to fit. Rather than muck about with millimeters, we just cut out 3/4 of an inch, more off the top than the bottom because that's what it took to make it square again. Then we sanded the buck all smooth, so that tape would seal nicely against it, and then we tried fitting the windows again. This is my fancy office window. It's the only arch top we bought for the whole house because they cost about triple what the other windows cost, and that was for one where the arch part doesn't even open. First we dry fit to make sure it can go in nice and level, then we tape it. This time I'm using this stretchier black window flashing tape that handles the curves much better. It was probably about twice the price as well. The window went in really nice and snugly with just 1/4 inch left for adjustment, but that was just what we needed. On to the kids' bedrooms. By now we had it pretty well figured out. But when we opened this particular window, we found that the mechanism was a little bit badly put together. To tell this part of the story, it's easier probably just to look at my photos. So as the windows had been delivered, I had been putting them right in the rooms where they belonged and then inspecting them as we opened them up. And taking photos of things like little nicks and these sorts of, issues like this, like these joints, you can see the glue squeezing out. And I took lots of these pictures. And the excellent customer service at Pella, which had been excellent until delivery, suddenly dried up. You can see this one here has got like a weird, I don't know what that is. and so on. And they suddenly stopped calling me back, no contact. Actually, some of these are good for other things. Like here you can see how this window frame worked. I put this nice black sealant on to trim it, and then you can see the flanges for the curve. Anyway, that's a little zoom in there. Yeah, there's some still lifes in here. Boys discussing deep things in amongst all my pictures of the bad windows. We have fun and so on. I came in here actually to show you this one. So here, and it's all floppy. I don't think it's supposed to be like that. Look at that. This is me I'm just tugging on this thing just a little bit like this with just a little finger hook. And it's floppy like crazy. The bottom is secure. You give that a tug and it doesn't move, where, you know, hardly any movement at all. And the top is floppy. I don't see any way to make it not floppy. So lots of issues like that, and of course I sent the videos to them pretty much as soon as I found each of these issues, and they never called me back. So I just couldn't get them on the phone after that. See lots of the progress here, taking photos. While we're doing windows, a lot of the time Sherry's continuing to work on stucco. We went to craft fairs and we did other fun stuff, worked on the fence. Michael forgot to bring sandals, so he made his own. Lots of fun stuff here. So at some point in this process, we also got these water softeners and installed those, and someone's learning to juggle, and you know, life goes on as you're building the house. You can see this wall here is freshly stuccoed by Sherry as we were doing something else. So just making constant progress. Around about, oh, here's some bad ones. You know, they came like this. The nail was just too high, or this board wasn't in the right place. Again, with no feedback from Pella, I ended up just fixing all these things myself as I was installing. You can see this is about the same time that we were working on this deck up here, and I combined those for you to save you some back and forths. Here's the south windows going in. That'll be the next video. And I just want to show you, oh yeah, one other thing here is, so in the corners, you have a flange that goes this direction and a flange that goes this direction, and then they put this kind of this lighter black rubber in the corner, and it just kind of stretches open here. The black stuff behind it is my window tape, but you can see why I didn't think very much of this corner in terms of waterproofing. So I added all that other hydraulic cement in here to really take care of this. And then I ended up just having to clean all this glue off. You know, it took a bunch of time and scraped it, and then I had to touch this all up because I did not get Pella on the phone. Yeah, these are the bigger windows. That'll be the next video. Floors going in. So yeah, so coming up soon, you'll see us working on the tower, on the south windows. And we have other fun in there as well, going to parks, going on little vacations, weddings, all kinds of fun stuff. So lots to keep us busy between all these projects. All right, back down to putting in the windows. Here you can see I'm packing in that hydraulic cement, that waterproofing cement, around the corners of the windows where I didn't trust their seal. Then Sherry comes back over it all with her stucco scratch coat. The stucco really holds on to that galvanized lath that I screwed through that window nailer. The stucco gives a really seamless finish now, but I don't even want to think about what it'll take to replace these windows in 25 years if I need to. The mezzanine window also needed a trim, and I thought maybe the chainsaw would be the right tool for this. It worked pretty well actually, and I just needed a little bit of cleanup after. Certainly not the finest carpentry around, but maybe the loudest. Then a bunch of cleanup to make the frames nice and square and smooth so the windows will seal tightly. This really took way too long, and I wished I had just included the extra 3/4 inch gap all the way around when I framed these. Here I'm putting that hydraulic cement around that archtop window. Now it's Sherry's turn around the windows. Meanwhile, I'm back up top with the window tape. These windows go in much easier with the sun on the other side to kind of hold it still while I level it and then screw it in. This particular window buck needed a little adjustment and then it went in also. Pull out that dry fit and then add the window tape. This plastic had been keeping the weather out of these windows for years, so ripping it off to put in real windows feels really good. These are the bedroom apps windows that I ended up going one size wider than I'd made the bucks for, so there was a lot of adjustment required. I was a bit smarter when I made these bucks though, and I made them 3 inches taller than they needed to be, so that the curved top and bottom, I'd curve them so the stucco would be easy and the shotcrete would be easy. But now I don't have to cut off that curve. That could just stay there, and I'll add a new straight 2x4 on the inside at the top and bottom to get the frame to that right height without having to cut the original buck. The original design didn't even actually include windows on this side of the house, but then we bought this property, and I ended up adding them to the plan because I wanted to be able to see all the woods and ponds to the east and north of our house. I had tried a bunch of different brands of window tape flashing. The black rubbery stuff was the best and most expensive, and this silvery stuff was the worst. We had a lot of summer storms out here, but they're usually pretty short-lived, so we just take a break and watch them. After the storm, it's back to the third window. I chisel off the stucco to clean up that front edge of the buck for a nice tight seal with the window. And then I widen that frame by 1/2 inch. And I put a 2x4 on the top and bottom, get that nice straight top and bottom. Dry fit the window just to be sure everything's going to go well. And this time I'm using about the mid-range white flashing tape. I like this tape okay. It was nice and smooth, so it helped slide that window in. It seems like it'll last a long time. During this whole process, Michael's job was to follow behind me and hook up all the hardware for the windows, like the window crank and stuff. And so that's what he's doing right here. And here's that step again where I'm adding the extra layer of lath around the windows. This will give that stucco something to really hold on to. That red stucco tape there is also really good stuff. It protects the window frame from the stucco while I'm applying it, but then it easily wipes off and then cleanly peels off even after a long time without all that sticky residue. The rain really hits this side of the house hard, so I decided to hydraulic cement that whole top edge and the whole bottom edge too. Now we're starting to get into the larger windows on the south side. I was glad we'd practiced with the smaller windows first. The concept is the same, but these large ones are much more difficult to manhandle into place, And having done the smaller ones gave everyone, including my boys, practice to get this all done. We still have the even larger south windows to get to, but first I'm going to need to insulate and stucco the inside of this wall, so I'll save those windows for another video. As usual, the algorithm loves it if you like and subscribe. If you make a comment, then it'll show more people, that kind of thing. It says engagement. So if you can do any of those things, help me out, that'd be great. Thank you very much. Bye.